first. Now the DC means da capo, which translates to from the start, and fine means end. So the full translation of D.C al Fine is go back to the beginning and end at fine. Now I'll explain and show you exactly what this means in just a moment. Whereas D.S al Fine is slightly different. The DS means dal segno, which means from the sign, and fine, as we already know, means end. So the full translation of D.S al Fine means go back to the sign, and it looks like that funny S symbol, and end at fine. Okay, so now we've got the definitions, let's have a look at these in practice. Here's a piece of music that I'm sure all of us recognise, Twinkle, Twinkle, a Little Star. Now, the way this works is that you start at the very beginning, and you play the top line, and when you finish the top line, you go to the second line, and then you go to the third line. Let's use this piece of music, and let's focus in on D.C al Fine. So here's Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star again. Notice how the third line of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star is exactly the same as the first line of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Now, because they're the same, we can actually write out this song in a slightly different way. Here's how we could write it out. Now, notice that at the end of the first line, there's a fine, and at the very end, there's a D.C al Fine. This is how you'd actually play the piece of music. Now, you'd obviously start at the very beginning, and you play all the way to the end of the first line. Then you move to the second line, and you play all the way through to the end of the second line, at which point you hit that D.C al Fine. Now, remember, that tells us to go back to the beginning and end at fine. So what we do, we go right back to the beginning, and we play that first line again, and we end when we get to that fine. And that's pretty much it. That's how a D.C al Fine works. Just remember that DC means go back to the beginning, and always keep an eye out for that fine so you know exactly where to end. This time, let's focus on D.S al Fine, and here's a different piece of music for us to get our teeth into. Now notice that there's a sign here, there's a fine here, and right at the end, we've got D.S al Fine. So this is how we play this piece of music. We'd obviously start at the very beginning, and we play all the way to the end of that first line. We go to the second line, and we play all the way through to the end of the second line, and then we jump to the third line, and we play all the way to the end of the third line. At which point we hit that D.S al Fine. Now remember, that means go back to the sign. So we go back to the sign, which is in this case at the beginning of the second line, and then we play from that sign until we get to fine, and then we stop playing. Let's have a listen to this piece of music so it becomes really clear exactly how D.S al Fine works. Okay, well I hope that playthrough was helpful. The key thing to remember is when you've got D.S al Fine is that you jump back to that sign. Always, always, always make sure you know where that sign is before you get to that D.S al Fine so that you can play through the music seamlessly. Okay, so in this video we've looked at D.C al Fine and D.S al Fine. They both mean go back somewhere and end at fine. What I find with my students is that they sometimes forget whether the D.C it means go back to the beginning or go back to the sign, and vice versa. The way that I always remember it is that with D.S, we go back to the sign, and that sign looks like the letter S. So if I've got D.S al Fine, I'm looking for that S-shaped sign. And if it's D.C, well, that's the opposite, so I just remember to go back all the way to the beginning and end at fine. Okay, well I hope that's been useful to you, Gilberto, and anybody else that's been watching. If any of you have any further questions about music theory, please do get in touch. I look forward to receiving your emails and messages via Twitter and